and you're all very welcome along to Season 4, Episode 3 of Champ.ie podcast, Ireland's premier horse racing podcast in association with Boyle Sports, Gorham Park Racecourse and Syndicates Racing. Coming up on this week's show, Barry speaks to special guest Patrick Neville about his stable star, the Real Whacker, and the lads look ahead to 5 key races at Cheltenham's November Meeting, the Navan Racing Festival, as well as giving their best bets for this weekend.
It's still the Real Whacker. He's out in front here, leading by 2 lengths. Jerry Colomb is getting a spurt on him. The closing stages, here he comes. The Real Whacker in front. Jerry Colomb is closing with every stride. They hit the line, the Real Whacker and Jerry Colomb. The judge will have to tell you that.
If you haven't already, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the Champ.ie YouTube channel, as it helps to get horse racing content out there to the wider audience. We look forward to reading all your weekend #5cast selections in the comments below. Sit back, relax and enjoy the show.
Hi everyone, and a very warm welcome to a bumper edition of the most popular podcast in town. Yes, this is the Champ.ie podcast, looking ahead to a terrific doubleheader either side of the Irish Sea. Cheltenham, a 3-day festival starting Friday, and in a revamp to the fixtures, Navan with a terrific 2 days as well coming up. And a reminder, of course, that not only does Navan have races like the Troy Town, but it also has got some beginner's chase, to say the least. So there is an awful lot to look forward to. And we will be meeting as well somebody with a very special interest in the bumper at Cheltenham on Saturday. Now, what do? You sit, you listen, you make notes, you learn. First and foremost, though, if you haven't done so, will you please follow and subscribe? That is the most important thing. Subscribe to the channel. And also, as well as that, we're looking for you to enter the 5cast competition, and there's a Champ.ie VIP monthly prize draw. Now, there are the races. We have 3 on Saturday and then 2 on Sunday. A bit of educated guesswork is going to be needed, particularly with the Troy Town, as to what the final field is going to be. But we start with the Lismullen, and then we have the staying hurdle at Cheltenham on Saturday, then the big Gold Cup, and we will hear from the man who's got the top weight, namely the Real Whacker. We'll hear from Pat Neville on that, and then we'll finish with the 2 Sunday races. Let me introduce the 3 wise men. They are in no particular order. Steve Hamilton. Steve, good to have you on the programme again. The man who says he's got coffee in that mug, but I'll believe it when it happens, namely Ronan Groome of the Irish Field, and delighted to welcome back Davy Boland as well, the wise sage of the southeast in particular of Ireland. And they're all cajoled and looked after by the founder, or the joint founder, he likes me to call it. I don't know who his joint is, but anyway, Barry Doyle joins us as well. And we'll hear from Pat Neville a little bit later on. We also look forward to welcoming Jack Cantillon very shortly. But first, let's get our heads around a couple of Saturday races, lads, if we may. And we'll start at Navan. First day of 2, of course, softer, heavy ground, and 6 runners going to post for the Lismullen, which is the day 1 feature. Top weight, home by the Lee, of course, very emotional victory in the Jack de Bromhead hurdle at Leopardstown last Christmas. And Bob Ollinger, and we've used up a lot of airtime, a lot of words about Bob Ollinger during the course of the last few months, but he's out again. I'll start with the Irish contingent, Steve. I'll come to you in a moment, but first, let's get Tweedledum and Tweedledee, as they always used to be called, not by me anyway. Ronan Groome, have first innings on this one.
Yeah, it's a little tricky contest to start, Mike. Lots of kind of lost souls coming back over hurdles here, I suppose. And Bob Ollinger, possibly the most interesting out of them. I was just reading Henry's stable tour before we came on, and decided to pull up stumps quite early last season and just give him a complete revamp or a complete freshen up. Did say he was going to go back chasing this year, but obviously they're starting over hurdles here, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. Out of all the races we have for the 5cast this week, Mike, this is probably the least one I was interested in, I suppose, or from a betting point of view, but I would have thought Zanahiyr would be the one to beat here, and I'm pretty sure he'd go off favourite. He's like, if you look at his form last season, he's pretty classy, isn't he? He's running up against the likes of Constitution Hill and State Men there in the Champion Hurdle, and got closer to Constitution Hill there at Aintree. It is fair form over 2.5 miles, and I know a lot of people talk about him as a possible Stayers Hurdle candidate, including Gordon Elliott last year. It never happened, but maybe this is the year where they have a look at that avenue, and I expect him to get off to a winning start here.
Davy Boland.
Yeah, I can't add a lot more to it, Mike. I agree with Ronan. Match fitness as well, he ran only 40 days ago, and he was good in Punchestown, and I think 2.5 mile and probably plus is his best trip. It was a good run in Aintree behind Constitution Hill, and because of race fitness, he'd be definitely the one for me, and because of Navan testing as well. I just think the further this horse goes, better. I'd love to see him over 3 mile over.
For those of you that don't know, Navan's got 2 great big long straights. It's about half a mile in the home run if you've not seen the track. So it's very different from the undulations of Cheltenham, the sharpness of Aintree, and the green grass of Punchestown provides its own challenge. Steve, what do you make of this? I mean, Zanahiyr is likely to go favourite, and he's also the youngest in the race.
Yeah, he's the one that's still on the upgrade, isn't he? When you look at the other horses, as just been mentioned, they've all got something to prove. As always with me, it comes down to what price would you want to back him at, if you wanted to back him at all, because the other horses, if anywhere near their best, remember, Owned by the Lee, Cider Burley have won the race previously. If Bob Ollinger is anywhere near his best, he would have a live chance. So do you want to be backing the favourite, Zanahiyr, at short odds? I wouldn't. But then if I also turn that on its head and say, well, do you want to lay it at a short price? I wouldn't be too keen on doing that, because I just don't know where the other horses will be in their state of prep. Whereas Zanahiyr doing it, he was quite impressive. That reappearance run I thought was quite impressive. So I wouldn't take him on, but I wouldn't back him at a short price.
Any thoughts, Mr. Doyle?
Yes, great to have the full band back together. We're missing Thomas Kyle. We'll probably have him next week as well. But in terms of this race, obviously to kick us off at Navan, the Navan Racing Festival, I had it between 2, and Bob Ollinger was one of the 2, and he's risky. So obviously Home by the Lee Joseph has won this, I think, 2 years on the bounce. Home by the Lee in decent form early in the season last year, but he has to concede weight to Zanahiyr, who for me, well, you've seen Gordon Elliott unleash Irish Point last weekend. He also has Tiupu, which will probably go back the same routes to Cheltenham that he did last year by showing up in the Galway Hurdle at Gorham Park. But I think Zanahiyr could shape up into certainly a leading stayer contender for Gordon as well this year. And I'd have him certainly the one to be getting the weight. Gordon has won this particular race 3 times in the last 6 years. And can't train a loser at the moment. 20 winners in the last fortnight. So I think Bob Ollinger is risky. They tried him at 2 miles last year after Lismullen. They also tried him at 3 miles. He's risky. Zanahiyr is getting weight. And I think, as Davey said, I think the test coming up that Navan Hill is going to suit him. So I'm going to side with Zanahiyr. And I think if it got 7-4, 2-1, I think that's more than fair, Mike.
Yeah, and of course it's something of strange things are happening at Navan. There isn't anything with the name W.P. Mullins in the trainer column. That's not something we say too often about graded races. So now you need to make your minds up, ladies and gentlemen. And you need to put the first of the 5 horses into your 5 cast. What wins that?
Mike, just to highlight.
Look at that. 440 to 1 last week. And if you notice, 2 of the 5 horses that Fia Koppel had, and well done to you, had the words magic in. So that perhaps tells you what you need to know. Look for something with the names magic. It's simple, really.
He was also requesting you back.
Right, I'm going to say, strange people. I must have spoken to their mother-in-law or something yesterday. I don't know. But it's great to be back. And above all, thanks to everybody for being so kind. And also, 440 to 1 is extraordinary. 2 magics in there as well. But of course, Gordon Elliott and Down Royal last weekend, you did have a head start, didn't you? Although looking at that, only 2 of the winners were at Down Royal, because you had Blackjack Magic winning at Wincanton when Nap was it also, and then Guest Gill won the Sefton over most of the Aintree fences, although leaving the water and the chair out did make that a strange race. Well done to him anyway, but there's another chance to win on that 5 cast. So that is race 1. Let's move on to race 2, and then we'll hopefully have our first guest joining the programme. So we've talked about the Liz Mullen, and we're staying in the world of stayers, although we're switching from staying conditions hurdles to staying handicap hurdles. And this game's handicap hurdle, the 255 race at Cheltenham, and a big field of 15 set to go to post, with the Gilligans having the top weight here in Buddy 1, although Jack's claim is going to reduce that, and it leaves an old friend, Chantry House, at top weight, but form figures of 1p slash UF. And Shan Blue, of course, is another one who's much better known for his exploits over bigger obstacles. So it is another minefield. And also, what do you make, for instance, of Judicial Love, who has had plenty of runs this season? It's a good job that I asked the questions rather than try and answer them. And trying to answer this one. Steve, have first innings on it.
Thanks very much, Mike. Much appreciated.
Pass the parcel, mate.
With this, you said about Chantry House being a chaser. You've got half a dozen of these that are chasers, and I assume that there could be 4, 5, 6 of them that won't be prepped for this race. It'll be getting here. Maybe the owners want a day out at Cheltenham as well, but they will have.
And the other thing is, you look at it, you think it would be a per temps qualifier, wouldn't you? But it isn't. Not exactly. Like getting the first 4 and book your ticket for March, isn't it?
But we've got, basically, I've looked at the horses that are running at the moment, that are informed, that you think will be absolutely prepped for this race. One did catch the eye on its last outing, was Mocha Devassi. It's a Jane Williams trained horse. I wouldn't initially have thought that it would be classy enough to win a race such as this, but I think there's so many of these that maybe just aren't ready for today that I'll certainly put Mocha Devassi in. I did have a slight reservation on the ground. I thought the ground might be soft by the time they got racing, but the forecast has changed. I don't think they're going to have that much rain, so I think the ground will be good to soft, maybe a bit softer, but I don't think that should inconvenience it. The other 2 horses that I've got earmarked in the race were Buddy 1, who you've just mentioned. All the Irish horses have to be given respect when they're coming over here. And Judicial Law, who you also mentioned, is exposed, but at least the horse is in form and running well. But when I looked at the earlier prices, Mocha Devassi was in at around 8 to 1, that type of price. And I think the horse will run well and be there or thereabouts. Whether it'll be classy enough to win, we'll see. But I think it'll run a race.
Barry Doyle.
Yes, he's got plenty in the weights, Buddy 1, hasn't he? The one I liked was, I think he has unfinished business potentially over hurdles. You mentioned it already, Mike. Chantry House for Nicky Henderson, who's absolutely flying. Of course, Connections, JP won this with Sporting John. I think it was 2 seasons ago. He's 8 pounds lower over hurdles. He's only had 3 starts over hurdles as well in his career. Chantry House, and obviously I'd say Connections now, when he did go chasing, thought he'd chip up into a lot better horse than 100. I think it's 155 he's rated over fences. So I just think it was interesting, Nicky Henderson in the stable tours, and David did a great feature with Nicky, by the way. If anyone hasn't seen it, go over to Racing's Inside Track TV. But he gave a very positive mention in his stable tours to Chantry House and how he's come back in this season and how he's looking and how he's obviously training. He's one of only 2 course winners in the lineup. I think he could be well treated, and Nicky Henderson won this race, but on the blind side back in 2020, and so with Thomas Campbell back in 2017. So this is a race he likes to target. For me, I think Chantry House with Nico at the Boinville up. I think he looks the most obvious, but I think Davy is right. It's not probably the strongest race you'll see all weekend, but I thought Chantry House is strong in the market as well with Boyle Sports. 8-1 has come in for good support from a double figure price. So I think you could see a lot more money for him the weekend, Mike.
And of course, Chantry House is age 9, so he's still young enough. Speaking of still young enough, Ronan Groome.
Just about, I'd say, Mike. I think this is a fascinating race, I have to say. It's fascinating because of the Irish Challenge. It's fascinating because, as you said, it's not a per temps race. And our connection's going to have half an eye on that down the line. And it's fascinating with these big name chasers coming back over hurdles, potentially well handicapped. And look, maybe some of them are out here for a run just to get their eye in around Cheltenham 3 miles. But I wouldn't say that's the case for the 2 Eric McNamara horses. I was just off the phone with him actually, and Real Steel and Noble Burt. They have an outside chance. They're both 16-1 shots there at Boyle Sports. Real Steel is 126 over hurdles. Like the mind cast back to when he was coming into the Gold Cup there on the snaff with Brian Hughes, and I was jumping up and down, having backed him at a huge price. But he's 126, and he ran quite well in the Munster National. A bit of better ground as well here. It won't be as soft as it was at Limerick. I give him a bit of chance. But I came down on 2 from my main hopes, and there was Sham Blue and Come On Teddy. They're both coming off huge long appearances, but Sham Blue is a good horse fresh. We all know what he did last time he came on a seasonal debut. He was about to win the Charlie Hall by about 2 fences when he came down, and he's 140 over hurdles. He's just well handicapped if he's anywhere near his best. And I could see him going well for the Skeletons. And Come On Teddy was the other one for Tom George. His 2 best performances are over this course and distance. He was third to Mrs. Milner in the per temps final. He's only £2 lower than that now. Now he's been off for 2 seasons, so he's obviously had quite a significant problem. But again, if he's anywhere back to full pelt and they were eyeing up, he's owned by a big syndicate, so I've got to think that they're going to run well today here at Cheltenham Horse with a live chance. So if he is ready and he is able, I'd say this will be the day for him. So he's around 12-1 as well. So there are my 2 against the field.
So there you have it. That's the big handicap hurdle on the Cheltenham Saturday card. So decide. That's your second 5-cast race. It's easy, isn't it? Well, we've still got plenty to look forward to, including the big handicap chase on Saturday and the 2 big races on either side of the Irish Sea on the Sunday. But coming next, we'll spotlight a horse that runs in the Mayor's Bumper. Wait for it. 15 declared, 14 of them are winners.
Gordon Park Racecourse, the premier racetrack in the southeast of Ireland, is located on the outskirts of Kilkenny City. Gordon is your number 1 choice for corporate days out, stag and hen party events, and an overall great local racing experience. Known as the race that stops the county, the famous Goffs Thyestes Chase 2024 takes place on Thursday the 25th of January.
In the finish of the Goffs Thyestes, invitation only, and Ruby Walsh on the near side for Willie Mullen's 7th win of the race. Invitation only has beaten Outfitters Opus.
With packed crowds expected once again this January, you can book your early bird tickets online today. Visit goranpark.ie online, click the link in the Champ.ie podcast video description, or scan the QR code on screen to purchase right now. Eddie and the team look forward to welcoming you all to Gordon Park Racecourse this winter.
Patrick Mullins.
Maria justifies favouritism, but sharp object out in front will win for John McConnell and Navan Racing.
Western victory, Silver Lord. Never be the finishing order.
Well, let's talk. Welcome back to part 2 of this spectacular Champ.ie podcast, and welcome a new face, but he's a very well-known name. And it's great to have him with us. And his name is Jack Cantillon. And Jack Cantillon is the brains behind an organisation called Syndicates Racing. And the thing about Syndicates Racing is it's given more than 10,000 people already the chance of which really dreams are made, namely of having a winner. Over 10,000 winning owners, and they include horses that have won bumpers. They're unbeaten in their record with first-time out bumper horses. And, of course, they've got a Kerry and a Munster National on their record as well. Plus, look at those trainers. Willie Mullins, Gordon, Henry, Joseph, John, Gavin. They all have horses in those famous white colours. Jack, welcome to Champ.ie, and thanks for sparing the time.
No problem.
When you dreamt of this, did you ever have the slightest idea what you'd created and how well it's gone since?
Oh, look, no, I suppose, but just look, we only do it because we enjoy it, right? We enjoy getting people involved in our great sport. Why are you all on this podcast tonight, you know, chatting about Cheltenham, chatting about Navan? It's because we love the sport and we like to get people engaged with it. And I suppose for us, the way we engage people is having winners with some of the best trainers around. And for you guys, it's, you know, backing winners. And I don't mind backing winners either. So it's
people help you, Jack.
And we're looking forward to next weekend.
Now,
This
the
weekend.
thing about this weekend as well is you've got a horse called Sharp Object that runs in the Mayor's bumper at Cheltenham. And just for many of your owners, the very fact they can say that they've got a runner at Cheltenham this weekend will immediately put smiles on faces. And that's what this is all about, isn't it, in the first instance?
Yeah, look, absolutely. We've 30 owners coming over to Cheltenham at the weekend. She's second fav. She was fav, or, you know, fluctuating between a favourite and second favourite with the Willie Mullins stable. It's actually unusual for us to be racing against Willie with a different trainer, but John is a trainer we identified. I think our owners, we just listened to our owners really, you know, who they like to have a horse with, and repeatedly we heard back Jay McConnell, and we're delighted to pick up this mare for look, it's a lot of money, but in horse terms it was a good value play. I think we bought her for 42,000 from Patrick Turley after being a promising second at a point-to-point. I think if she'd won that point-to-point, she would have been a multiple of what she cost us, and we just thought that was a bit of value. She's by a sire called Diamond Boy, who you know, I think is going through the gears as a stallion in Ireland. He stands at Kilbarry, who are wonderful breeders, and you know, this was a mare then that went on. She won on debut, and we weren't going to run her the last day in the Muckle Meg at Goran Park, but I met John at the sales. I said it's a quagmire. You know, let's not ruin our season for one race. But we decided to go for it, and she was a really, really promising second. She bet Abby's Champ, who of course has come out since and won, and she was second to that very promising mare in Aurora Vega. So ever since then,
what did you run into? Only time's going to tell, isn't it?
I know. Look,
another Mullins machine.
It's a weird year this year, Mike, though, because the rules have changed in the UK for bumpers. So you kind of have to box clever in terms of number of runs. So by running tomorrow, my understanding is we're going to and by running at the Dublin Racing Festival, we'll probably disqualify ourselves from running in the champion bumper. So look, if no matter how well she, you know, runs at the weekend, don't back her for champion bumper. Like, you know, not that I think she'd win it, but do you know what I mean? It's an interesting new approach. You have to be thinking about this when you're thinking about bumper prospects. So you can't run in too many and run at Cheltenham. That rule has been changed for this season.
And also, so you look at the field, you know, there's 15 in there, 14 of them are winners. And it's a great chance to compare with the longer term in mind, the best of the British form against the best of the Irish form.
Yeah. I'd have great respect for the Nichols filly, but she has to give us weight. I think Baby Kate was good the first day, but she's got an even better pedigree. So you'd like to think out of Augusta Kate, the Grade 1 winner, you know, there'll probably be more than the usual level of improvement for her. So look, easy peasy for Nicky Henderson, a really good winner that was bought out of an Irish bumper and has come over to the UK and won since for Nicky. I think, you know, the list goes on. It's a very good race, but a race where we're really looking forward to being part of.
Now, you always have horses where you're looking to give people an opportunity to buy shares. Tell us a little bit more. What do you, if you want to talk more, you want to look at a pedigree or even if you just want to buy a share in a horse, to say, look, I've got a share in a horse with whoever, whatever, what do you do?
So look, our first approach is like we work sales hard. We think a lot about where we can find value. We think values are in national hunt mares. We have lots of flat horses as well, but flat national hunt mares, we've never been beaten first time out in an Irish bumper or any bumper. And I suppose that's because we focus on good pedigrees, good physicals, and great value. We're delighted to be partnering with Champ.ie this year. We're giving a €50 discount to any Champ follower, friend of the show, anything you like. You get 50 quid off your first share. And like the good thing about our shares is, it's a proper share, not a micro share. So you're guaranteed at least 1% of the horse. And also, it's not in the thousands of euro, it's in the hundreds of euro. You could have bought a share in Sharp Object for 850 quid. You're running in the Mayor's Bumper at Cheltenham within a couple of months of that purchase. We've some very exciting ones. I'd highlight Cabaret Princess, which is there on the right. She's a sister to Cabaret Queen, who, Mike, I know you had a share in many moons ago. And she's the one that's pleasing us a lot. Unfortunately, Mike's horse currently with us is having a little bit of difficulty, which we're frustrated about. And another one I'd highlight, we've Black Friday tomorrow. So obviously we wouldn't be any self-respecting e-commerce website unless we took advantage of that. So we have a new horse, our first horse with Gordon Elliott, that we're going to offer tomorrow. It's going to go in an email, so you won't see it on the website just yet. It's going to pop in an email tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. I haven't exactly picked the time. And she's a full sister to, or half sister to Jerry Cologne. So a beautiful pedigree. A pedigree, that we are very excited by Cocorico, who's a brilliant sire in France. And you can see her there, right there in the corner. While she's on the website, you click that link, it'll bring you nowhere because we're going to offer it to our newsletter subscribers and our owners on WhatsApp first. So they'd be two. The rest of the team is very exciting too. A Je suis Allois filly, since we bought it, we were cool before it was trendy to like Je suis Allois. Rat Barry Stud have bought that stallion, and he's really exciting. A great pretender filly, just like our best bumper mare Grand G, who won up the Punchestown Festival and the Punchestown and was third at Cheltenham, and of course won at the Dublin Racing Festival. A Wall Park filly, a first with our Gavin Cronwell. So look, if you want to get stuck in with any Irish National Hunt trainer, we probably have something for you.
And what you have to do is to get your €50 off your first share, you've got a code that you need to put in to the website. Just tell us very quickly about that.
Well, look, we probably should have Vince as our discount code, but we've gone with Champ all caps this time. We'll work on our Vince discount code, but it's very simple. You just get to the end. Look, it's like Apple Pay. You can literally use Apple Pay. Just click on your phone, and you've bought a share in your racehorse, and you've got a bit of dreaming to do all winter. That's kind of what it's all about for us, and it's not prohibitive. People buy 5%, 10%. 25% shares with us, but you're also just as welcome to buy a 1% share, and we're excited to have you part of the family.
Well, I was lucky enough to have
it. Brilliant to have you, Jack.
As you said, Jed, have a share in Cabaret Queen. The trouble is, I don't think the syndicate manager's role extends to rounding up those that have gone to the races with a trophy and ended up in the middle of Dublin carrying it around. But
Jonathan, just to explain that one to everyone, Jonathan O'Grady, a great owner of ours, Mike was there. He proceeded
O'Grady says, yes, enough said.
O'Grady decided that he would rob the Munster National Trophy and bring it on a tour of every distillery in Ireland for a week. And we just, every night we'd wake up to more photos of more people drinking out of this trophy. I've never feared for my life more in the sense we'd lose this priceless trophy because it was a perpetual cup and we had to return it. But we did indeed do so, and it was great crack. She was an unbelievable mare. She cost 13 grand. She won the 100 grand Munster National, and she won the 150 grand Kerry National. She was third in the Galway Plate, and she was the first mare home in the Grand National. Like, that's unbelievable. And Mike was there for the whole journey. Mike, it was a bit of a madhouse, that WhatsApp group, but you were always a sea of tranquility within it. Talking a lot of sense, not nonsense.
And Jack, where's the session when Sharp Object gets her head in front?
Look, I'm flying over tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. I'm a big fan of the Covega bar myself, even though Aurora Vega bet us the last day. So we'll be there and we'll give it Holly win, lose or draw.
You can take it from me, Barry. It'll start in the Quivega bar, and then it'll go to the Queen's Hotel, and then it'll go to the airport bar because they've all missed their flight home and have to stay until the next day. Jack, great to have you as part of the you and Syndicates Racing on Champ.ie, and please keep us in touch. But don't forget that opportunity. Go and look at the Syndicates Racing website. Enter Champ.ie in follower discount, and then you can get your discount on your first share, and you can be an owner. What a thought that is, with so much terrific jump racing to come. So Jack's had his say on that bumper. We've got plenty more races to come as well, because we've got Pat Neville coming up in just a moment, and we've also got some thoughts on the 3 remaining races in your 5-cast, the next of which is the big handicap at Cheltenham. So here we go then with the November handicap chase, the big Gold Cup at Cheltenham, 2.5 miles, 14 runners, 160,000 quid it used to be, and it still continues to rise in value, this race. And ground going to be slightly on the easy side, but it's certainly not going to be bottomless. And I think that 12 months ago, they couldn't run the cross-country race at the meeting because the ground was too firm, and they've got some very, very good fields for this Cheltenham Saturday. It's 160 grand in the pot, headed by the Real Whacker, who just held on to win at the festival. Stage star for Paul Nicholls, and plenty of others. Unexpected Party, who's had a run and won it, and Nicholls has got 2 in the race. And the Irish challenge, including Authorised Art, when you last see Willie Mullins with a 20-1 outsider in a race like this, and also Venetia Williams Yard in great form. They've got Easy as That. There are so many possibles about this. You don't rule out Gavin Cromwell's Final Orders, given how he took Cheltenham apart with some great performances last time out. Who should we start with this time? Let's go and get Davy Boland's thoughts first.
Yeah, Mike, it's an interesting race. It's disappointing not to see a few more in it, but Unexpected Party was very good the last day in Chepstow, and the horse he beat has come out to win since Nappers Hill. But the one I like is a Paul Nicholls horse, his Stage Star. Big fan of graded horses, graded winners in handicaps, and thought he was very impressive at the festival in the Turners, and he's getting £7 off the Real Whacker. I think he's better than him, and especially over this trip. I thought the Real Whacker would go to Newbury for the Hennessy. What is it? The Coral Cup now. I was surprised he's coming back to 2.5. I thought Newbury would be better suited to him, but Stage Star for me, I thought he was very good. I think he's in type. I know he ran very disappointing in Aintree, but look, it was a long season. He'd a good few runs and plenty of ones beside his name before that. So I'd never knock a horse for having one bad run, whether it be Aintree or Punchestown at the end of a long season. So he's the one for me. He's a grade 1 winner horse off what I think is still a reasonable mark in a handicap.
Steve, is it significant if you're weighing up a race like this, how high up the list of things you think about is, has this horse had a previous run, or in some cases, are you happy to go with a horse who we last saw at the festival?
With this type of race, that having the first run of the season doesn't really bother me too much, because it would have been a target. When we spoke about the earlier race, you can see, or you can have it in your mind that horses will have targets further down the line. This race is a big race, and certainly the bigger yards are more than capable of getting horses ready after a break. So that's no issue now. The problem, or what I try to look at, is what horses are going to step forward from last season, because Stage Star obviously was impressive when it won at the festival. But you look at the weights and how they're handicapped now, that the handicapper takes that into account and you've got horses not long till May. You've got Unexpected Party that tie in with Stage Star. At the weights, there's nothing to choose between them. So I try to find what type of angle can I have into this race where I may just have an edge. And I think that the majority of them are pretty much exposed, or they're at a level that we've seen that they would basically dead heat. There's a few that I think could possibly be well treated now, handicap wise. Top of my list there is El Rodotto, the other Nichols horse. And it's simply because he's got the jockey's riding really well. He claims 5. And I think that £5 claim can make a little bit of a difference where it's such a tightly knit handicap. I did take a close look at Angel's Breath. The Sam Thomas stable are going really well. He's fantastic at getting horses first time up. But having watched it, ran over hurdles at Cheltenham on its reappearance, and I just felt that he looked to be ready for that race, and I don't think that he's going to step forward from that performance. So I knocked him out. The one horse that's at a bigger price is a bit iffy. There's no doubt about that, but ability-wise and handicap-wise, you can make a case for him, and it's Harper's Brook. He's around 14, 16 to 1 chance. He threw a race away at Sandown at the end of last season that he should have won comfortably. But obviously they're aware of that. And I just thought at a double figure price, he could go and put up a performance. But I think you can make a case for basically anything in the race. It's that hard. But he was the one that sort of my pin came down on, was Harper's Brook.
Well, I've just been with Keelan Woods this afternoon at Taunton Races, and they're talking about holding this horse up as long as they dare, play their cards late. So don't expect him to be jumping in front with the circuit to go, and hopefully then that they'll be able to use that to get up the hill. That is, I think, the plan.
And for people that do actually, if they use the exchanges at all, there's a chance this horse does travel really strongly. So I would imagine he would trade a shorter price than that 16 to 1 in the run.
Yeah, they're certainly suggesting that's how they're going to try and play it. And of course, Ben Pauling trains just over the hill and not very far away, and how much they'd love to keep that big prize in Gloucestershire. They did famously a few years ago with Splash of Ginge, and the headache tablets were being handed around the next morning after Splash of Ginge delivered. Ronan, you're about to address this, so away you go.
Yeah, I'm really
looking
about
to make another cup of tea. I thought there a minute ago.
I love the race. I have to say it's one of my highlights of the whole jump season. I think it's and it looks like the old race it used to be, where you have really good horses in a handicap and looking to test their mettle early in the season to see if there could be real grade horses and grade 1 horses in open company. Obviously that's the case with the Real Whacker and Stage Star. Look, Stage Star is top in the market there, but on a line through him and Unexpected Party, I can't not be interested in Unexpected Party. I think he's weighted to and priced that he's the kind of only option for me in the race. So if you go back to the run in January, the first run Stage Star had at Cheltenham over this 2.5. He beat Unexpected Party 14 lengths, but there was a difference in weight there, and when they went off level weights in the Turners, Unexpected Parties closed them up to 8 lengths. Now, granted, it was a slower run race, but Stage Star very much got the run of things in the Turners. That's what all the pundits said nearly straight after the race. The Harry Cobden had rode few of them silly in behind, and Unexpected Party was racing towards the rear of the field, so he had to have been disadvantaged on the day. He ran well then in air in a grade 2, but as Davey pointed out there, his form first time up to win at Chepstow has received a significant boost through Nappers Hill. It was pretty good last week in a grade 2, albeit not an amazing grade 2 at Wincanton.
Yeah, let's move on. I think you just froze on us, mate. So we get the message. Before we hear the message from Pat Neville, who of course trains the top rate, the Real Whackers, trying to win it off 12 stone. Mr. Doyle, where is your shilling here?
Shilling is 100% on the Real Whacker. Big fan. I think looking down towards the bottom of the weights, because it obviously is a handicap, and I'm struggling to see horses down towards the bottom of the weights that could be very well handicapped. And just looking as well at 2.5 miles around Cheltenham, it's a real specialist division, isn't it? The Real Whacker for me, I think he's different lead to stage start. At the form of the Brown Advisory from last year is a lot better than the likes of the Turners. I thought Stage Star had his own way in front, whereas in the Brown Advisory, the Real Whacker certainly did not. Braun took him on for the lead. Willie Mullins had a couple in the race. Braun was up there pestering him the whole time. The Real Whacker's biggest asset is obviously his jumping, so I like the fact that he's stepping back in trip. He was a graded winner, of course, over the distance. And look, he's unbeaten over fences, 3 from 3. 3 of those wins have all come at Cheltenham. Mentioned this particular division at 2.5 mile handicaps, in particular around Cheltenham. You tend to see the same horses cropping up, and I think it's a really good piece of placing by Pat Neville, who's happy with the condition of the horse. And for me, looking down towards at the bottom of the weights, there's nothing really that sticks out to me that could be 10 or more pounds well in. So I love the Real Whacker for this. I think he's a cracking price as well at 7-1. And if he's to be a Gold Cup contender, I think he has to be winning this, or certainly going very, very close. And I think he will. So I think 7-1, good value, Mike, in the November Gold Cup.
Let's hear from the words. We like to bring you the big names on Champ.ie. And one of the key players in this race is, of course, Pat Neville, the trainer of the Real Whacker. And he's been bearing his soul and explaining all to Barry Doyle.
So delighted to be joined on the Champ.ie podcast, episode number 3 of the season, by Patrick Neville, looking ahead to what's, of course, a busy weekend for the yard. And Patrick, I wanted to say to you, obviously everyone loves a good national hunt story, and I suppose the Real Whacker certainly is just that.
Yeah, he is, he's so far so good. We're looking forward to getting going for the season. Looking forward to the weekend, so already now all packed up there and ready to go. We'll hit down there tomorrow, get him settled in there. So we've run on Friday, and so we'll get down there tomorrow and get him settled in. We've done it every time we've gone down there. We've gone down there a couple of days before and got him settled in down there. So it's a good place down there. You can ride him out actually on the gallop in the morning time down there, so it's fine.
And I suppose going back to the beginning of his story, plenty have heard the story, plenty haven't. And I suppose going back to the very beginning, how did you come across the Real Whacker? And
I bought him as a store horse in Goffs there in Kildare, and I bought him as a 3-year-old store and broke him and got him going. And when we were breaking him, I said, this is a really nice horse. He was so intelligent and so willing to do what we were asking him. And from there on, we just got him ready, and we had him ready to run. We're going to run him in a pint-to-pint, and COVID struck. So that kind of finished that. And we ended up keeping him then and going to the track. We do a run. First run, actually, we ran him in a maiden hurdle in Listowel. And he showed loads that day. In a big field, so his next run then was a winner. He won in Carlisle. He won a maiden hurdle, 3 mile 1 maiden hurdle around Carlisle, and he went well away from a couple of good horses that day. So he really showed that he had some potential. And then after that, he went to the Grade 2 novice hurdle in Doncaster, where he showed loads that day. Just unfortunate he didn't win. He just got beat on a length or two on the line. There was a strong headwind there that day, so he kind of pulled him across the track and in the run home. So he was just unlucky, but he showed loads. And then he was always going to be probably a better chaser, because we had him well schooled over fences when we were going to run him in the pint-to-pint. He had a lot of schooling.
And I suppose David Mann, obviously very colourful character, involved with the horse, of course, the owner. I read something recently, Patrick, and I wanted to ask you this. He did say that you promised him from the very beginning that there was something different about the Real Whacker. What did you think was different about the horse?
He was just a real athlete, and Anton, we ever asked him that time. Actually, I got Davy in the early days when we had a lot of schooling done, we'd been up and down to Drumahan there and down to Boolta and Cork. We had lads, good James Hannon done a lot of schooling on him. Gary Noonan. Gary was working for me at the time there. Gary, he's riding loads of winners in Ireland now. Good young lad. And we just had a lot done with him, and everyone was mad about him. So Davy had been involved with me in a few horses, and we didn't have that much luck actually. We had a couple of horses that got injured and things, and so I said to Davy, "This is the one."
You mentioned he's an athlete. I suppose moving on to his career over fences, he's unbeaten over fences, and all three of his runs have come at Cheltenham. Why do you think he loves Cheltenham so much?
He's just an out-and-out a jumper and a stayer, and that's what you have to be around Cheltenham. He just jumps so well and travels so well in his race. Like he's an unreal cruising speed. Like when you're riding him, I ride him out every day now, and when you're riding him, it doesn't seem that he's going so fast, but if there's something behind him, they can't keep up with him. And it's the same at home there. The lad said, "Geez, you're flying." Yeah, he doesn't feel that way, but he's a big, massive stride in him, and he just covers ground so easy, you know.
And I suppose last year he didn't have it easy in the Brown Advisory. He was taken on for the lead, wasn't he, by Braun for a long time?
It is. Like Willie, I think had 5 or 6 in it, and there was a couple probably put in just to take him on and probably trying to upset him, you know, which. The Braun, like he took him on, and he actually ran a cracking race. Wouldn't mind having him. But it was just to really upset him. We front run him because he's happy out there. He loves jumping from fence to fence, and we were just thinking we don't have to go that way all the time. We sat him in his the day he ran in Doncaster. He sat in actually stone last at the back of the field and crept away through it. So he's an easy enough horse. You don't have to particularly make it. He done it the hard way in Cheltenham from start to finish in a good race. And probably just at the end of it, he was probably just idling a bit.
Did you think he was going to hang up the straight? Was it a nervous watch?
Well, of course it was. But I still think that he did. I was nearly sure. I watched it from the top of the stand, and I said, "Geez, I think we just held on." You know, when I saw it afterwards, I didn't think it was as close, but it was close. But he was in front so long, and Sam said afterwards there, he's often said there when he heard the horse coming to him, he actually went to go again. You know.
And Jerry Cheltenham obviously has come out and backed up the form.
Jerry Cheltenham is a class horse. Like even after Cheltenham, he went on to the entry and he annihilated the field in another competitive race. He had a very good horse. So we're looking forward. Hopefully we'll meet again later in the year, or maybe hopefully back in Cheltenham in March. So we'll see.
Yeah, so come to that in a moment, because obviously looking ahead to this weekend, the November Gold Cup, and he's entered, and of course Sam Twiston-Davis is down to ride once again. How has his preparations been going ahead of Saturday's race, and what are you expecting?
It's gone very well, yeah. He's as fit and as well as you could have him. We've done a good bit with him, but he still probably will come on a lot. He will come on a lot from the run, you know. It's his first outing of the year. It's been a funny enough all year between the rain. We've got an awful lot of heavy rain. We've had trouble with gallops, and we've had to go away a good bit and things like that. But sure, we've managed away. Sure, he's as fit, and I'm happy with him. And he's been away a bit, but still we haven't had a race course gallop with him. But he will come on a lot. Now he's ready and he's well and he's fit. I'm very happy with him.
Expecting a massive run?
Expecting a good run from him, and after going forward he'll improve from the run, and hopefully we'll have him. He'll be ready to run again at Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas. That's interesting, because I was going to ask you. Obviously, the road to Cheltenham Festival 2024 should all go according to plan on Saturday. What What does the road to
Yeah,
Cheltenham look like for
we've
him?
him into the King George. So we were looking at. I had him in there 2 weeks ago in the Cantillon race, but just the ground went a bit very heavy on a couple of days leading up to it. So I said, you know what, we won't kill him on his first run out. And I had been in Cheltenham the week at the October meeting, and we had a runner down there, and the ground was fabulous. So I said, if anywhere we're going to get a bit of nice ground, is going to be Cheltenham. So I kind of made up my mind at that time that we'll go for this race. I know it was a very, very competitive race, and he's to carry top weight, but sure, he's fine. He's used to carrying a bit of weight every day. He's carrying me around.
Well, on the Champ.ie podcast, Paddy, we're big Real Whacker fans, and I suppose the big question really is, do you believe he's a genuine Gold Cup contender?
Yeah, of course I do. Like he won the mini version of the Gold Cup there this year. I'm sure, why not? There's a lot of water to fall under the bridge or flow under the bridge between here and then, but yeah, definitely he's on the route for it. That's what the whole aim is. Say a run on Saturday, run at Christmas, and then the Gold Cup. That's the plan.
And obviously his jumping is a massive asset, and you mentioned his cruising spree, but I suppose he's only had 3 runs over fences. Do you think he'll improve moving up to 3-2 later on in the season?
He will on the bit of nice ground, which they normally get for the Gold Cup. He's definitely, like, he won his maiden hurdle around Carlisle, and he was impressive that day, and he was as green as grass. It was his second run, and he galloped away up the hill, 3 mile 1 race going away in Carlisle, away from 2 really good horses. So that's why I have no doubt that he no problem staying the 3-2. And you'll have probably something that will want to go on and make it, and he can sit in. He don't have to make it, but if he has to make it, he will.
I really wish you all the best with that, Paddy, and fingers crossed for the Real Whacker this season. Give us tremendous joy last year, and I suppose looking at elsewhere, obviously on Friday you have an entry as well with Folian. I wanted to ask you about, I suppose, that particular entry.
Yeah, he's a nice horse. He's his first run for me, but he was a horse that came with a few problems, and we have him sorted out, and we're looking forward to him running. Just on Friday, it's a nice start back for him. So we'll see how he gets on. He's in good shape as well. So looking forward to him running as well on Friday.
And you find facilities, training facilities, obviously seeing clips of the Real Whacker training, etc. I suppose from yourself and from the stable's perspective, what other horses are you looking forward to running this national hunt season?
We have a good bunch of young horses. We've actually 5 or 6 4-year-old horses who haven't ran even. So we're looking forward to them. There's a mixture of older ones there as well. So we'll see. We got a nice horse there from the sales there a few weeks ago. He's for sale. I have a couple of really nice horses for sale if there's anyone interested in getting involved in a couple of syndicates or whatever.
100%. What's he by?
He's by See the Stars.
Super. And unnamed.
He's a horse called Cosmic Soul. He's a really nice horse. We're going to go juvenile hurdling with him. So.
Lovely, brilliant. So that's certainly one to look out for. I suppose for the Champ.ie listeners and followers, we obviously have guests on every single week, Patrick. And I suppose the question we ask at the end, is there any particular dark horse outside of the ones mentioned for Champ.ie listeners to stick into the tracker?
Yeah, we have a nice little young horse there coming on there. He's a 4-year-old, probably run a Christmas in a maiden hurdle called Magical Hill. We bought him off the Doyles there in Wexford there in sales in Doncaster. So he's an exciting horse to look forward to.
Well, I wish you all the best with the Real Whacker and the horses mentioned, and for the rest of the season. Paddy, it was brilliant to have you on, and hopefully you'll agree to come on at some stage again during the season. I suppose anything we can do to help as one of the Champ.ie podcasts, plenty of opportunities you mentioned to get involved with yourself as well. Be sure to keep in touch.
Sound out, Barry. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Boyle Sports. Don't just bet. Choose wisely.
So that's Pat Neville. That completes Saturday. So you should have 3 horses on your 5 cast. And remember also follow and like if you haven't already done so. Let's look ahead to Sunday, lads. We can keep this a little bit brief, obviously, because we are slightly in the unknown world here, with waiting for the final decks. We've got the Great Wood at Cheltenham, and then we've got the Troy Town. And the one market I'd love to see with the Troy Town is how many will actually have the name G. Elliott in the training column amongst those that actually line up for the Troy Town. Let's go to the Great Wood. Of course, being the scene of some great gambles, the shunter still sends fear and trembling down the bookmaking. I've never seen payout queues like it on a Sunday afternoon at Cheltenham. Steve, have first innings. Obviously, we are slightly guessing as to what's going to turn out here, but it looks like a very good renewal.
Oh, absolutely. They're betting, I think they're around 7-8 to 1 the field. A horse I really liked, it ran on the last day of the first season last year at Sandown, was only just touched off. It was called, I think, the championship final, the novice championship final. It's a Birico Lord of Nicky Henderson's. It's a JP horse. They actually had the winner of the race, and which was called Under Control. And if you look at that race again, another 50, 100 yards, a Birico Lord would have won. They're all positives. The horse is really lightly raced. He won a race, a bumper in France. God knows what they must have paid for him, but I assume they paid a lot. He's only had the 4 starts over hurdles. He's only had that 1 handicap start, so he's completely unexposed. And that level of form as it stands would give him a really good chance in this race, I think. They're all positives. The negative I have, I think the softer the ground, the better for the horse. Looking at that Sandown race again yesterday evening, he got himself a little bit outpaced before staying on, and he wasn't knocked about at the end, but the hill at Sandown really brought his stamina into play. And I think he's got the makings of being a really good horse. And off the handicap mark he is now, I think he could, if conditions are right, if there's enough ease in the ground, I think he could start making his mark on Sunday.
Barry Doyle.
He's muted himself.
Oh, I've done it again. Right. This race, Mike, for me is a little bit trickier, I think, than the handicap chase we discussed, the November handicap on the Saturday. The one that stuck out for me, and I know came with a big reputation from the point-to-point circuit, is Neil King's horse, Look Away. And his horses were running quite poor at the start of the season. I'm just reading some comments from the trainer after his win at the October meeting. Look Away. I think he put a lot of emphasis on the stable being out of form last year, but he's on a real upward curve this year. Won a grade 2. Not sure how strong the race was. He made all to win at the October meeting. He's obviously won a bumper on soft ground, so he's ground versatile. I know a lot of the rain at Cheltenham is going to be coming on Saturday, so it's probably going to dry out for Sunday. Whether it'll be good to soft, I'm not sure, but I'd say soft will definitely be in the description. He made all. There doesn't appear to be all that much pace in this particular race, so I think the race could be run to suit him. And he's a strong staying 2-miler, which I think is what you're going to need on Sunday. And so, look, I thought 8 to 1 was more than fair. He was double figure price. He's been backed in. I think he's a horse that could be still better than his mark. And in a tricky race, I thought at 8 to 1, he certainly did make appeal. And yeah, that's the way I'm going to play. So Look Away at 8 to 1.
Davy Boland.
I like the John O'Neill horse in this. Any harm in asking? I know he kind of has the form is slightly weak enough in terms of the tracks where he's been running the horse that have been beating him, but I'd say he's a little bit better than what the form suggests, and I wouldn't be surprised in a big improvement in a big race for this horse. He, of course, is the only horse to have yet beaten Constitution Hill in Tipperary in a point-to-point, but I just think he has a few interesting runs, and I think he could be well handicapped. I could be, after Sunday, you'd look at it and say, no, that's just as good as he is, but I have a feeling he's better than than what his form reads, and I'm expecting a big run from him at 16 or 18 to 1 there. I'd have a few bob on him each way.
Second in the Welsh champion hurdle, of course, at Foslas, which is nearer to Ireland than it is to England. I think I'm right in saying the nearest racecourse to Foslas is Wexford.
True.
I haven't brought that nice Mr. Ronan Groome in yet, so I better put that right here. Ronan, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of punctuation here, Mike. I think I'm not sure he's really well handicapped, but he has loads going for him. He likes soft ground. He's a course and distance winner, and I love the idea to run him on the flat there in York in October as a pipe opener, just to give him there and save his hurdles mark. He was a really good winner at Aintree last season. He beat Blue King Daru there, Washington, a couple of other nice ones. Knickerbocker Glory was in behind him. I thought it was a decent enough race. He got £8 for that. But his win record is quite good. He's 5 wins from 11 starts, 7 wins from 20 starts when you take in his flat run. I think he's bred by the Queen, actually, so he's really well bred out of a Galileo mare. And he seems to just be hitting his stride here. Fergal O'Brien's going well, and as I said, he likes soft ground. I think everything's in place for him to run well, and I thought 12 to 1 looked a decent enough spot for him.
Okay, put that next horse into your 5 cast, and you should have 1 gap left, and that brings us to the Troy Town, the highlight of day 2 of the Navan Racing Festival. The big dog, of course, Keith Donoghue won it last year when Gordon Elliott ran umpteen, the likes of Death Duty, Cocoa Beach, Frontal Assault, and Deffy Blood, just a few of the ones that represented Classon. And Willie Mullins looks like he may not have a runner, but Gordon could have umpteen. Who's got the first pin available here? Go on, Mr. Groome. Away you go.
I think the main question you're asking for is who's Jack Kennedy going to ride? If you narrow it down to the Gordon runners, because
it's the Irish field got the exclusive, has it?
If I was Jack Kennedy, I would ride Run Wild Fred here off a mark of 149. I just think he could be well handicapped. Of course, remember he won this race. He bolted up in this race 2 seasons ago off 145 and was a really impressive winner. And I thought he ran well enough in the Munster Nationals come back there. And I'm sure he'll run. I'm sure he'll have loads of other Jigginstown horses running as well. And the choice is endless for Gordon. But I was surprised Boyle Sports had gone 16 to 1 and thought that was a little bit big, because I'm sure he is going to run, and I could see him shortening a lot if indeed Jack Kennedy does opt for him. But obviously he has plenty of choices.
Davey.
Yeah, I love this race.
I bet you do.
Yeah, I do. I agree with Ronan. Big fan of Run Wild Fred's. Of course, a winner of the race and a nice run on a season reappearance. I also like Hollow Games. I think he had a very good run in the Galway Plate. I think this sort of a race suits him. I know the horse very well. Testing conditions going to suit him. He'll stay all day. Jumps very well. We've seen that in the Galway Plate, and I think Jack will ride one of these two, Hollow Games or one Run Wild Fred. I'm pretty sure that both definitely run. And another one I like is Limerick Lace. I think she's a very progressive mare, and I think in a handicap she could be well suited and could be well handicapped. Gavin's horse is in very good form as well. She jumps very well. She'll have no problem on the ground. She was impressive around Limerick or Clonmel, sorry. And yeah, they're the three. And if you put the gun to my head to pick one, I'd go Hollow Games.
Well, there's been nothing hollow about what Steve's had to say all day. It's been fascinating. Have you borrowed somebody's pin here? I mean, this is you either love these handicaps or hate them, don't you?
Well, I love handicaps, but not this one. I looked last night, 24 entries, 17 Gordon Elliott. There's only 5 trainers that have got a runner in the race. I think Mr. Elliott or somebody connected with Mr. Elliott will know far more than me about what the outcome of this race will be. And it makes absolutely zero appeal to me from a punting perspective. I'll be intrigued as to who rides what, how it ends up, how many runners we actually have. I don't know what this spread will be on how many runners take part or how many of Elliott's take part. But it makes zero appeal to me from punting.
Okay. Barry, anything to add? And your time starts now.
Well, 17 as the boys mentioned for Gordon Elliott in the 24 runners. A bit brave, is it, to go against Gordon here? But I'm going to. The Devil's Coachman, a horse that I've liked for quite some time. Obviously ran in the Irish National. I'm not entirely sure that the horse had ideal conditions. I'm also not entirely sure the horse stayed that type of trip. But I think back to 3 miles at Navan on this type of ground, where there's plenty of pace in the race, to be able to creep away. His jumping was never, he was never the most flamboyant over a fence, but he certainly has a big engine, and he's won up the hill at Navan. In the past, obviously, I thought he was very, very impressive in the Boyne Hurdle 2 seasons ago. And I was surprised to sent him chasing last year, but I think he's warmed to the task nicely. He's obviously a nice bit of experience now for a race like this, big handicaps. Noel Meade, obviously, that'd be a popular local winner. If it wasn't Gordon Elliott, I'm sure Noel Meade would bring the house down. The Devil's Coachman, I think, off his mark, £5 lower over fences than his hurdles mark. I think he's definitely well treated. I know it's not very original. There'll be plenty of people flagging up the Devil's Coachman and have been throughout the week, but I just think when you look at the profile of the horse, he seems to have the ideal profile for the race. And I get where Davy's coming from with Hollow Games. I thought he ran a cracker in the Galway plate, and I think conditions will suit him as well. But the Devil's Coachman gets the vote on this type of ground, Mike, at Navan.
And that's the Devil's Coachman, and we're not betting without Gordon Elliott. Noel Meade, of course, I think if I'm right in saying he was at one stage chairman of Navan, so he likes nothing more than to plunder a big prize in his own backyard. Well, we've still got to get the lads then to give us their 5, and I'm also going to get them to turn 5 into 1 and their best bet of the weekend as well. That's next.
Gordon Park Racecourse, the premier racetrack in the southeast of Ireland, is located on the outskirts of Kilkenny City. Gordon is your number 1 choice for corporate days out, stag and hen party events, and an overall great local racing experience. Known as the race that stops the county, the famous Goffs Thyestes Chase 2024 takes place on Thursday the 25th of January.
In the finish of the Goffs Thyestes, invitation only, and Ruby Walsh on the near side for Willie Mullins' 7th win of the race. Invitation only has beaten Outfitters Opus.
With packed crowds expected once again this January, you can book your early bird tickets online today. Visit goranpark.ie online, click the link in the Champ.ie podcast video description, or scan the QR code on screen to purchase right now. Eddie and the team look forward to welcoming you all to Gordon Park Racecourse this winter.
And Patrick Mullins.
We had justified favouritism, but sharp object out in front, we're ready for John McConnell and Navan Carby.
Western victory still for long. Never read the finishing order.
Okay, pens poised. If you haven't done it already, you can make these, write down these names, remember the names, put them in your 5 casts, and you can be a winner courtesy of Champ.ie. So let's go round very quickly to the wise men, and we'll take Barry in as well to work out what they think. So let's start then with the Liz Mullen Hurdle, Saturday's Navan feature. First race, are we all unanimous on Zanair? Anybody got anything to add?
Yep.
Race 2, that staying handicap hurdle at Cheltenham. Steve, where were you here?
Mocha Devassi.
Davey?
Buddy 1.
Ronan?
Shan Blue.
Barry?
Chantry House.
On then to the big chase. Cheltenham on Saturday. Ronan.
Unexpected Party.
Steve.
El Ridotto.
Barry.
Real Whacker, far too big a price, 7-1.
And Davy Boland.
Stage Star.
It worries me, we haven't got Inertium in this year to be sick of. We might be sick of the Real Whacker every time he mentions it. Race 4, Sunday's Greatwood. Steve.
Iberico Lord.
Away you go, Ronan.
A punctuation.
Okay, full stop from there to Davy.
Any harm in asking?
No, there isn't. Barry.
It's time to look away now.
And then the final leg. I'll give Steve his. I think we'll give him number 23 on the card, which is the first past the post. That'll do, won't it? Barry.
Yes, the final race, I'm going to side with Noel Meade's runner, the Devil's Coachman.
And also Davy.
Hollow Games.
Ronan.
Run Wild Fred.
So good luck. Don't forget, you've got to get your podcast, your 5-cast entries in, and then you can win courtesy of Champ.ie. And your final act, gentlemen, if you'd be so kind, is I thank you most warmly for your contributions. Never in the field of punting have so many relied on so few. No, I'm not going to go down that route. Right, nap of the day. Davy Boland.
Tomorrow in Cheltenham, down here for dancing, Gavin Cromwell in the last race.
Aha. Ronan.
My uncle's horse runs in that race, Davy, and I fancy it a lot, and I think they fancy it a lot as well. Belgo Prince. I think he's potentially very well handicapped off 108. So we'll see how that goes. But my nap is going to be earlier on the card on Friday. A horse called Triple Trade for Joe Tizard and Brendan Powell. He ran a huge race last week.
Steve, we're going to have to get used this winter to these Irish boys talking about well-handicapped horses of theirs, aren't we?
They're just habitually well-handicapped when they come to Britain. That's the thing. It may be because ours are poorly handicapped, though.
We'll have to make sure that the ferry sorts it out.
I'm the same race as Ronan, the 145. I like Ballybreeze, horse number 11, who would have won, I thought, last time, but for falling, and I think is potentially really well handicapped. And just one horse to keep an eye on for people is a horse called Petite Tonnerre, who makes its chase debut in the Forerunner chase at 2:20 on Friday. I think that horse could make up into a decent chaser.
Barry, appropriately, you should have the last word.
Well, I'm going to have to go with the Real Whacker. I just think he's a brilliant price at 7-1. I am looking forward to seeing Barry Connell's horse in the bumper on Sunday or Saturday at Navan Apples of Bresel. He gave it a really positive mention when he was on the show last year. It's now partly owned by Tim O'Driscoll. So that's a horse I'm looking forward to seeing this weekend as well. But yeah, I think there's a lot more race this weekend than the 145 at Cheltenham on Friday. But best of luck to the lads and their selections there. And Belgo Prince, Ronan, a long lost cousin of mine, Billy Coonan, rode it to win the amateur derby on the flat.
Oh, very good.
So
very good.
Shout out to him. The last time, I think, has it had a run since then?
He gave that since that Epsom race he ran in the November handicap. He ran quite well, and he should have won. He should have won one of the racing league matches. He actually got a rare bad ride off Billy Loughnane that day, and stayed on for fourth. But he was £8 well in. But anyway, they fancy it tomorrow. They think he's got a great chance.
Well, excuses at the ready. The lads will be back next week, and we'll talk about the big chase at Haydock, and also watch which of the Mullins big guns will turn up. We got entries for umpteen of them in the Morgiana hurdle at Punchestown. Those are the two features next week. But thanks to all the team here. Thanks to our sponsors, Syndicates Racing, Boyle Sports, and to Gorham Park. And thanks to Ronan, to Davy, to Steve, and the man without whom none of the last hour and a bit would have been possible. So you know who to blame. Barry Doyle. See you soon. Bye-bye.